Nation.
Region Review.
The Raging Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Raging Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Boys and girls, welcome into another edition of Ragin' Review. Still trying to recover a little bit from that loss on Saturday against the Owls of Rice. Nick Lane, the guy in blue, Josh, and KG Natty Daddy, all here for your listening and watching pleasure. And it was all around a disastrous night for the Cajuns on Saturday. Of course, on the post-game show, we talked about that. Even our post-game went haywire. We got it together, unlike the Cajuns offense. But it was just not a fun time. Before we get to all of that, we do want to thank our sponsors. So we'll have a quick sponsor shout out. When we come back, we'll get right into it. Talk about Walker Howard, the latest on that situation, plus much more. We got Caden coming on later tonight. We'll do that in a second. Right now, let's thank our sponsors. We'd like to thank the following partners who make Ragin' Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Ragin' Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday, 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Ragin' Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Ragin' Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/Ragin' Review. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible. Thanks once again to our awesome sponsors. Before we get, because I know, Josh, you want to add on a little bit to that, but I do want to say thanks to the awesome support that we got here on YouTube. We had somewhere like 300 subscribers. We're now over 500. You can do super chats now. Andy Thomas gave us a little 99 cents for this question. It's a super chat question. Will 99 cents buy Lane a dance at Michael's? I don't know, but I would like to find out. I would like to see him make it drizzle for 99 cents at Michael's. So Andy will have to try that out. Andy's also a Patreon sponsor. So tons of ways that you guys can contribute to the show. Josh, I know you want to add on to the sponsors, then we'll get started with everything.
Shout out to everybody who came by the tailgate. We'll get into that later, but don't forget that Ragin' Review, or actually Best Stop, is the official Cracklin of Ragin' Review. So if you have time, go by Scott location, Karen Crow location. If you're in Texas, go to one of those locations. If you're in Toledo Bend, swing by, get you some cracklins, tell them Ragin' Review sent you. And then also, we just want to thank everybody for trying out the platters. Haven't been able to find out how many were ordered, but I have talked to a few folks from the field, and they said they were totally and completely satisfied with what they had. We were able to feed 25 to 30 people off of one, so that gives you an idea of how much food was there. Of course, it was always fresh and delicious. The tasso was incredible. I was not familiar with the tasso game in the Say show platter. So Just wanted to shout that out. And again, all of these sponsors that have made us, given us the opportunity to do everything we've been able to do so far this football season, even though it's a week old. It's just been incredible. The Patreon sponsors have been incredible. All the support on Threads. Thank all of you guys. You deserve to be shouted out, and we're going to continue to do that as you support us.
Cool to also see the basketball players that came by. That would have not ever happened. And how cool was that? Not just that they came to Rage and Review, but that they were walking around talking to fans, asking them to come. They had the 12K shirts on. Man, I'm getting chills thinking about what this season's going to be. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to go out and make the Final Four, but I tell you, these guys will be ready to play, and it will be entertaining. It will be fun. I cannot wait, Josh. That was cool.
Yeah, one thing that they got really fired up about is that I made sure to remind them that before football had any success and before baseball went to the College World Series and before softball was a proven commodity, this was a basketball town. Lafayette was in love with Cajuns basketball. And as soon as you tell a team like that, a new team like that that they have some history behind that brand and they can definitely expect to have some real support once they get this thing rolling again, they were excited about that. So it was really cool. We met 4 or 5 of them, came by and had a bite and visited with us. Also, if you guys saw the threads in the picture, how cool was it for Tommy McClellan to come by? Like he said he would. He's a man of his word. He came by and hung out with the boys and was we took a picture, and of course I had to be the smart ass that I am, and right before they snapped the photo I said move up to a level like Kusa, and he asked who asked the question, and it was just fun, man. We had a great time. It was I thought just a raving success. My buddy James is the one who took a picture, and we appreciate the super chat, James.
Look at this. Holy cow, James.
Yeah,
this is
really
amazing, bro.
Really appreciate that, man. $20 on a super chat on the first night's pretty sweet. So James hung out with us for a good while. You guys all know James was one of the OG YouTube celebrities. So it was just fun to have everybody there, family, friends, acquaintances. We got to meet some old Crew to Chew guys. I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to take up the entire show. So just thank everybody for coming by, seeing the flag, and come and meet us under it. And next week on Saturday, we'll have some people cooking out there. If you want to come visit with the boys, get to know us a little bit, we'll be there.
It was amazing. And James, it was good meeting you too, man. We chatted for a little bit. I swore I knew who he was, but we didn't know who each other was. He went to Lafayette High. I went to Acadiana. We weren't the same age, but I swore I knew who he is. Anyway, we do know because he's poo-poo when he calls in, and my mom loves him. My mom was watching. She loves poo-poo. She told me I was lying. She's like, you didn't meet him. I think she thinks he's a celebrity. Let's unfortunately get to football because we do have to talk about that Rice game. And before we get to what the hell happened, let's start with the big injury that happened, of course, in the fourth quarter, final drive, best throw of the night. And then Walker goes down with a non-contact injury. Not sounding good from what our sources are telling us. Lots of rumors out there, lots of things going on. But it's like, here we go again, man. I don't know what we did to deserve this. Did we sell our soul for that one conference championship? In the rankings, but it's starting to feel like the Saints, we can never get healthy. And again, at the quarterback position, we're having to go to backup Daniel Beal. That will certainly change the game plan for next week. And we're going to talk about Walker's play because when you go back and look at it and you look at game film, it wasn't as bad as I thought because there were so many drop passes, which I knew. But if we completed those drop passes, we're probably talking about a different ball game today. So I'll start with you, Josh. The impact of Walker's injury, he didn't look great. He overthrew some receivers at the same time. The receivers didn't help him out. There was miscommunication. Guys were running the wrong routes. And now you're losing your quarterback. I don't know even what to say about it, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, the inability to have any amount of a passing game forced us to rely on the running game way too often, and I believe that he got hurt on a running play. I know he did fall down later on a pass attempt, but that we can discuss that later. It's hard to really evaluate his performance because how many third down balls in hands did we drop? How many times we targeted Samson was targeted 12 times, and I think he had 6 drops. How can you get into a rhythm when the X is not catching the football? How can you get into a rhythm when you have wide receivers that don't know the route tree? How can you get into a rhythm when you have an offensive line that are calling out incorrect signals? I know. I was looking at PFF this morning. You guys realize that Xylon Perry was our best pass blocker? That can't happen. Your running back can't be the guy that's protecting the quarterback best. That's it's indicative of how bad the pass game was as a whole, but Walker doesn't have, I think he went 10 for 28 overall, or 10 for 22 overall. Walker can't possibly have a game like that if everybody's doing their jobs. We threw it to the tight end 3 times. I think we had 1 completion. The tight end room didn't grade out well, I'll be the first to say. I mean, I love my guys, but I'm going to be honest. But again, when you got tight ends having to stay in and chip block, and you have tight ends that are needed in pass defense or pass protection because offensive line is not doing their job, you're not going to have a passing throw out of those guys. This is not going to happen. We missed them. We missed many reads, but again, it was just kind of a waterfall. It was a cascade of errors. But when guys are running wrong routes, you just start to have. You lose confidence in the entire ability of the offense to operate the way it's supposed to. And yeah, Walker threw balls that went 30 yards out of play. There was one, I think it was the third down, deep down on the north side.
That was terrible.
That was one.
That was. Yeah.
There was a couple of them that it made his performance look even worse. But when a quarterback totally loses any amount of confidence in his wide receivers, especially the guy that he had chemistry with in all of spring and all of OTAs and stuff like that in fall camp, what's he going to do, man? I mean, you can't get to a third progression by the time these guys. Rice's defense, you got to give him some credit. They put pressure on the middle of that offensive line, but they didn't give him any real chance to make a check down after his second option. And when guys are not right, they're not. First of all, nobody ran good routes other than Sampson. I thought Sampson ran good routes. Other than Sampson, the route running was lazy, rounded off, not good, not in the right position. I mean, I can go on and on and on, and I'm not going to take up too much time because I know the guys have something to say. But Walker, in particular, it wasn't as bad as the stats say, but it certainly wasn't good. I know I was emotional after the game, and I said he looked like shit. There were times where he did look like shit. I mean, that's a true statement. But he had no help, none. That's the truth. And the run game, while the run game produced a bit, it didn't really produce. I heard somebody say today on the radio, I'm not going to say any names, that the offensive line looked good. If you go look at the PFF grade, the offensive line did not look good. The offensive line got dominated in the trenches.
Want to give a shout out to Raging Cajun and Dumatre for helping us out with some super stickers going on tonight, man. We're making bank tonight. We just shut it down. We're definitely going to Michael's. Maybe that's what got all this started out. KG, let's talk about that offensive line. I was sitting in the lower sections and watching things from almost a field level. It looked, I mean, they got dominated at times in that game that looked really, really bad. Your thoughts on the offensive production? Again, Walker's not going to be here for game 2. We're playing McNeese. We have offensive line issues, and now we're throwing Daniel Beal into the mix. How is that going to work against McNeese? Because look, I'm not saying McNeese State. I still have full faith that we're going to beat McNeese State. However, I'm starting to get a little shawls in my stomach going. They got Matt Viatar. He knows our game plan. He knows Daniel Beal. He knows our offense better than we do. He's going to know how to defend it. They're coming off a 56-point win. I'm starting to get a little shaws. But talk about the offensive line. They look like they got dominated. And that's not, I know we lost a lot from last season, but I expected some of those twos from last season to step up. That was not the case.
No, I mean, you can't get blown off the ball consistently and expect to move the football, whether it's through the air or on the ground. They legit look like they were on roller skates Saturday night. You know, we could do now. I'll say this, and on our little sheet right here, it says give a bright spot somewhere. The yards per carry was good. I want to say it was 5. You know, but like at the end of the day, our running backs only had 22 carries and they split 11 each. And I want to say they both eclipsed 50 yards. You know, that's fine on paper. You know, you had 11 carries for, let's call it 50 yards. It's not a terrible average, but you know, it's almost like if you were watching the game, like the eye test, it didn't seem that way. It seemed like we were just getting stuffed at times because that's what the offensive line made it look like. They were just getting blown off the ball. And Walker, yeah, Josh made the best point. Walker, there was some plays where he downright did not look prepared and it looked horrible. Like just there were some throwaways that there wasn't a receiver from here to Mamu. But you can't do much as a quarterback when your offensive line is on skates. So I think the way that the offensive line got dominated, and look, I want to be an optimist. I want to talk well about those guys because it's a long, long, long season, and to trash them after week one would do nothing but just kill confidence. The only way from here is up, right? And you got to protect this, your guy now in Daniel, who's only making, he's got a handful of snaps in his career. You either protect him or he's going to be running for his life as well. Last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Lane and he can have his opinions is now at least, and I said this all off season, I was expecting us to be a run first team. And it seemed like last weekend we were trying to be a pass first team. We were running verticals at every chance we got. You got two of the best running backs in the freaking conference. And no offense to Sampson and, the other guy, whoever. But I'm just saying, you got two of the best running backs in the conference. And it looked like we were just trying to go deep as much as we could. And to Josh's point, it's just you never could get your tight ends involved because they always had to stay in either pass protect or chip or it was a mess. And I really wasn't impressed with the play calling. I talked about this on the phone. I know Jerry's not on the podcast, but play calling for the last year. And listen, I know we had a great year last year, but for the last year, it's like every game we go into, it's like Pandora's box. I don't know what style of offense we're running. It's like some days we come out and we can throw the ball great, and it's like we're run heavy, or then we go out and we pass the ball and it's like all over the place. I would like a little bit of consistency, and I was hoping we would have got off on the right foot. We all were with Rice, and that just didn't happen.
You know what? And let's talk about that too. Consistency in our offense last year. Going into this game, I said, man, we got to slow it down because sometimes we score too quickly. We move the ball down the field too quickly and leave our defense out there. Well, we left our defense out there, but not because of our scoring. Lane, I mean, obviously you saw what we saw. Talk a little bit about that, and also what do you want to see from Daniel coming out against McNeese? Because we've seen him a couple of times in cleanup duty, but this is going to be his first collegiate start. Daniel has tons of talent, as did Walker, but I'm still a little bit worried because Walker has a ton of talent and didn't, things weren't working for a variety of reasons. Not all his fault. Now you're throwing the sophomore into the mix. It's making me a little nervous, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what that offense was Saturday night. It's not the offense that we've been accustomed to, even over the last 3 to 4 years. It's just they didn't have chemistry. It felt like there was receivers running wrong routes, like y'all mentioned, and balls and hands that didn't drop or that dropped. And we kept talking all summer and all spring and even in the fall about the connection between Walker and Sampson. And it just felt like it wasn't there for some reason. The couple of the bright spots that I did notice throughout the game, one, the kicking game was solid. You make a 47 and a 51-yarder in your first game at Cajun Field. I mean, kudos to the kicker who actually became was named the Sun Belt Special Teams Player of the Week. And another thing that I was excited to see was that the defense stepped up in the second half and showed that they can stop teams from scoring. I mean, we only gave up 14 points. We should have easily won the game. Granted, we could have caught half of the balls that we dropped, and we would have probably ended up winning. So it's frustrating, but having an FCS team with a little bit lower level talent can help us this week. But I am looking forward to seeing what Daniel has, and as far as his talents. This is going to be his first start, so he's fresh into it, I guess. But we've only seen him, like you said, in mop-up duty, like in the championship game and bowl game. So it'll be interesting to see how, with the prep that he has with the ones this week, and how well he performs.
Lane, you saying lower level talent at McNeese State, that's going to get clipped. They're going to be playing that all over the McNeese State message boards. Wait, they don't have any. because I've never met a McNeese State fan in my life. But anyway, let's talk about, looking ahead. No, I'm not going to look ahead yet because we're going to get to that in a little bit.
Can we
I'm
talk
sorry. Go ahead.
defense?
I was about to bring that up.
Good.
I was about to bring the defensive performance, which I pulled it up. The time of possession, 39 minutes for Rice. 30. It doesn't matter. 36, 39, 36 minutes for Rice. That hurt us, especially in the first half, because we could not move the ball on them, and they just rode it down our throats. I mean, we could not stop them in the first half, which was so frustrating sitting in that stadium, knowing what play is coming, and then watching guys miss tackles with, was it Whitfield? Who had that nasty tackle finally that kind of woke the defense up? Do you remember who that was?
That was Skip.
It was Skip. Yes. That seemed to light something on the defense. I mean, they still ended up scoring, I think, on that drive, but still it's like it showed somebody had woken up. But the energy from the defense was not there. The energy on the sideline wasn't there. But let's talk about the defense, Josh. That first half was terrible. However, they still held them to 14 points and held them to 0 in the second half. You can't put this on the defense. Salgado made the right adjustments. I wish we could have done it real time in the first half. But again, 14 points should get you a win, especially against a team like Rice, where we talked about them not being able to stop the run, and all of a sudden we can't run the damn ball or choose not to. I don't know, man. Defense. Talk about it, Josh.
Well, Coach Sal and his staff, as far as I'm concerned, their value to this program is that they make the adjustments at half. We watched Lamar and his staff fail to make
do that exactly
adjustments, and it was just so mind-boggling and frustrating. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Jaden Duggar, who had if you watch the game and you look at the stats and you look at his grade, he was easily the most graded player, the highest graded player on defense. So shout out to him, who really stepped up and had a big game. He played 56 total snaps. I mean, he was on the field a whole lot. Outside of him, there were some disappointments out there. And look, we can all talk about the fact that we made the adjustments and we held them to nothing the last 35, 40 minutes of the game. They were scoreless. A better team would have run that team out of the building in the first half. The defensive line was completely unacceptable. Yet Jalen Kreider, who we didn't talk about at all in preseason, was the highest graded defensive lineman on Saturday. I mean, he's a 3. And he was the highest graded. And he had, I think, 23 total snaps. So it's not like he didn't get a whole lot of playing time. He got some opportunities. Our ends, as far as they didn't set the edge like they're going to be needed to do. They did a better job in the second half, but they didn't set the edge in the first half, okay? I was not impressed at all with the secondary tackling. I'm going to tell you right now, Jalen Clark, who I expect a whole lot out of because of seeing him on special teams and seeing him tackle before, that was a very bad performance, and I like Jalen. Tyree Skipper missed some tackles. Cortland Flowers, I've been bragging about him for a month. He could not wrap up at all. I don't know what happened. If, again, you go look at the stats and you go look at the grades, we were one of the worst tackling teams in college football on Saturday. It was very evident in the first half. I don't know if they just didn't prepare for a physical offense. I don't know what the hell they've been doing for a month. But defensively, and even in the second half, we missed some tackles. It was better. But defensively, it's got to be better. I mean, we made the adjustments. We played up the two high safeties early in the game. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I think Rice threw 5 passes all game long. Why aren't we sneaking those down in the box? Why aren't you playing I would have played 8 in the box until they showed that they could beat me. We didn't do that. We spread the field. What was that? I don't understand that. But my biggest gripe with the defense was the tackling. We looked like we were in position, and like I said, we didn't set the edge, and that was disappointing. But it was the tackling overall. Second half, the adjustments were made. We wrapped up a little bit better. Going forward, I do not expect to see that again. I don't expect that defense to look that bad. I don't know if it was just a product of first game, opening up a stadium, a little bit of distracted. I don't know what it was. Dude, Cam Whitfield, who again, we thought is a conference, all-conference defensive player. I mean, he was out of position. I I don't know whoever the mic was when he was in the game. I don't know if they were just missing signs. I don't know what was going on, but he was out of position a lot and he missed tackles a lot. There wasn't a single person on defense that stuck out as far as from a tackling standpoint. So it was really, I thought the defensive performance in the first half was totally unacceptable. I kind of got on Javon Lawson in the post game, and when I went back and looked at his grade, I was 100% right. I don't know what this standing up thing is when the play is on the other side of the field. We are not pursuing the football. And I'm going to call him out because I know what that guy is capable of. We all do. He's an all-conference type guy. I mean, I think Cole picked him to be our defensive MVP of the season. You can't be given half-ass effort. I'm sorry. When the ball swung the other side, whether you playing weak side or strong side, you got to pursue the football, and he didn't do that on way too many snaps. I was very disappointed in that, and I thought it needed to be said. I will say, though, we didn't lose the football game because of defense at all.
Shout out to Philip Martin and Raging Cajun 77, baby. Hey, Carrier, it looks like you did get beat tonight, buddy. $25, Raging Cajun 77.
Let the bidding war begin. Hey,
Man,
by the
Do
way,
I hear
Phil,
30? Do I hear 30?
yeah, I got to give a shout out to Phil. Phil just sent me a message with a picture from the GOAT with the boys on the TV for everybody to see. So if you're at the GOAT, thank Phil. Buy him around on us. Next time we see you guys, we'll reimburse. But thanks for Phil for making sure the show is on at the bar.
That is freaking awesome. Thank you, Phil. You're amazing, dude. But let's go back to what the question I wanted to ask you, Cole, but I want to ask you first, Josh. We hear about improvement from game 1 to game 2 and then game 2 to game 3. Those are always the biggest games where you see improvement. Having Walker injured between game 1 and game 2, typically I would say, okay, I expect him to improve and I expect the team to improve. Well, now we're in a different situation because now we're throwing Daniel Beal into the mix. Do you expect, you would think that all of the units should see an improvement game 1 to game 2. However, now you're adding a new signal caller who's got a different cadence, who's got different favorite receivers, it's just is managing the game differently. Should we be concerned for that jump from week 1 to week 2? And now are we looking for a jump from week 2 to week 3? I guess, what do you think? What is the improvement that we should expect to see now that we have a new signal caller behind center this week?
Well, it's a loaded question. It obviously adds a variable, right? I'm not going to sit here and act like it doesn't. But I would tell you what the guys say out of the locker room is that Daniel Beal is more of a Ben Woldridge type guy. So some of these older players and these more veteran guys are going to be a little bit acclimated to his style of play. And Mike's not going to reinvent the offense just for Daniel Beal. In fact, you might even see the offense revert to what you saw last year, which was pretty damn good at times, most of the season actually. And if you can get anything close to what Woldridge was ever able to give you out of Beal, you're going to be in great shape. But can I just say this? And I kind of already made a comment about it. The offense didn't execute a single thing. We didn't get the basics right. So I just need to see execution. I told Jerry this on the phone today, which, by the way, I think he called the entire show and then all of our Patreon sponsors. I hope he said thank you, by the way. But seriously, you have it's only up, kind of like Cole said, but at the same time, I don't care if we win by 7 and execute the offense to an acceptable level. That's growth. I'm looking for growth. I don't care if it's McNeese, even though they are a step lower in talent. You can't tell me there's a single player in our unit that you wouldn't take over anybody on McNeese. I'm sorry. It just is. McNeese State doesn't have the talent we do. They just don't. It's a fact. Y'all can clip it, put it all over the locker room. I don't care. But I'm not looking for what the end final result is from a result standpoint, a score standpoint. Yes, of course, we need to win the game, and we will. But we need to execute the offense. Wide receivers need to run the right routes. Offensive linemen need to know the signals. We shouldn't have tight ends staying in deep or staying in tight to help call the damn offensive line shifts and signals. That's unacceptable at this level of play. And that happened, by the way. So run the offense. Run the right routes. Know your calls. We got to be able to run this offense and execute at a high level if we're going to beat anybody for the rest of the season, let alone McNeese. And again, we're going to beat McNeese State. I'm not worried about that. But adding a variable is not really all that big of a deal if you stop and think about the fact that we didn't do anything, even the basics, properly. This is like a hit the reset button and try again.
I mean, the only touchdown we got was because Beal had an open lane and ran for 25. That's the only touchdown. That's really the only time we came close to scoring a touchdown, if we're being honest. KG, your thoughts? Game 1 and game 2 improvement. Now we throw Beal into the mix. Your thoughts on how big of an improvement we can expect next week against McNeese State?
It is what it is, but McNeese State is the worst team on your schedule this year. Let's be very clear about that. I mean, Rice was bad. They're, going into that game, they were preseason ranked, I want to say, in like the 120s when it comes to D1 football. So that's why we kind of thought we would handle them. I mean, they were projected to win 3.5, have wins-loss ratio that was the Vegas odds. And, we gave them one. So, if you put money on them, good job, guys. But no, McNeese State is the worst team on our schedule. And I know a lot of guys in these comments, they're like, man, if we lose, the season's over. It might very well be, because if you can't beat the worst team on the schedule, I don't care how early it is, week 1, week 2.
Careers are over if that happens. Coaching careers are over, and I don't know who, but that is a career-ending loss for somebody on this.
And listen, let me be very clear. I'm not pressing the panic button yet. I think we will beat McNeese State this weekend as well, and I think we'll beat them by multiple touchdowns. It's just you can improve this weekend. You could do the fundamentals this weekend, whether it's running correct routes, blocking better, whatever, better play call, all of it. But the thing is, I'm more worried about what's going to happen from week 2 to week 3, because that is a massive skill gap. Playing McNeese is not playing Missouri, right? So we can practice all the fundamentals and nail down everything, and we should, and we will. But, man, it makes me worried with how bad we looked week 1, because, yes, you can do everything right next week against McNeese, but at the end of the day, that's like a Acadiana playing, Patasa High, and then you got to turn around and play West Monroe, right? So you can practice. It's a tune-up game is all it is. I'm just saying, get where you got to be for week 3, because if you go on the road, to Missouri and you get your tail beat between your legs, I mean, then we back to just square one. Like, where do we go from here? The only positive you would have at that point is that the conference, your conference slate didn't start. So that's where I'm at. Protect Daniel Beal. Let him have an opportunity to get settled in. That's the biggest thing. Every time he's came into a game for us, he's been absolutely thrown into a fire where he's kind of had to figure it out on the fly. Now he has a week to prepare. He has a week to game plan. He has a week to get acclimated. He has a week to get with the number 1 offensive line and figure out a plan. Just protect him, man. Let him get comfortable, and let us finally see what kind of tools he brings to the table.
But I think things that everybody has mentioned on here, missed assignments, miscommunication, we looked unprepared, no energy on the sideline, that all goes back to coaching. That's where it starts. And Dez said, I got out-coached. You got out-coached by a coach. That is good. He's a good coach. Let's talk about that. I'll get to you, KG. He got out-coached by a good coach who knows how to win, but it was his first game at Rice. And if you can't get your team amped up for game 1 in a new stadium to run the right route, that is a huge concern. And look, I'm not saying, again, I fully expect to beat McNeese. But if you're going against Matt Viatar, who knows how you coach, who knows your game plan, who has been a head coach at the FCS and FBS level, my guy can't get out coached by an FCS coach, Cole. That's concerning in game 1 of the season.
And I'm going to let Lane take this but I just got to say this. If you're an offensive head coach, your offense better be pretty damn good. And to come out the gate week 1 and do nothing on offense and score 12 points against a defense. Listen, Rice's defense was better than expected. We expected it because we did our homework on them. I knew that they were going to be a solid unit, but I still thought, we would beat them by multiple scores. That was not the case. But bottom line, if you are an offensive D1 head football coach, your offense better be pretty freaking damn good, because you're the one recruiting the people and you're the one calling the plays, right? So I'm going to leave it at that. But Lane, I'll let you take over the question. I mean, Matt Viator knows us like like your neighbor does. If you need to borrow a Magnalite pot or some sugar, he can come on your patio and whip it up with you. That's the kind of ties he has to this place, and that is scary. That is scary because you just had a horrific showing last week against Rice, and now they're coming in amped up because they just dropped 50. To Louisiana Christian, but they just dropped 50 on a school in their opening game, and they're feeling confident, and they can expose that. So, take it away.
Yeah, like y'all mentioned, I feel like Bill will finally get his chance to shine with the week of prep, with the number one offensive line. Now, if the offensive line performs like they did last week, we're in huge trouble. I feel like the more prep he gets, the better he'll perform this year or this week. And hopefully the receivers actually catch the balls that are thrown right in their hands.
Let's talk to my boy, Andy Thomas, who paid $2 for this question. Thank you, Andy, my man. Is there something Beal brings that lunch doesn't? That's actually a really good question. Because we heard, Josh, in the spring, it was actually a huge surprise. Lunch was like gonna be the guy, but he surprised coaches and kind of made them like, oh crap, like we might have a quarterback controversy on our hands. Lunch isn't getting the start, and we heard Lunch would get some playing time last week. He did not. We heard it again from Dez that he's going to get some playing time this week. Will he or will he not? I guess maybe Beal brings, if you're saying that you're hearing he's like a Wooldridge type of quarterback where he manages the game, that's one thing. But it's a legitimate question. What does Beal bring that Lunch doesn't?
Total and complete understanding of the playbook, number one. And that's not a shot on Lunch. I don't know how much of the playbook he knows or doesn't know. What I do know about Lunch is that he's a 1-2 read guy, and then I'm going to rely on my athleticism. And there's value in that, and I'm glad he's on the team. And he needs to be used. I hope he sees 15 snaps, 10 to 15 snaps. I hope he's on the field. Daniel Beal is your prototypical pro-style, RPO type guy who's going to run the offense that he's going to run. I have full confidence in Daniel Beal to be prepared for the game. I think he gives you a couple more options out of the pocket at this point in his career than Lunch does. And it's as simple as that. And, I'm not saying that Daniel Beal is not athletic. He certainly is. He can run. He has every bit of the running capability that Walker did. I think Lunch has a little extra something about him. He's a little bit more tough. He's bigger. He can flat out run you over. Beal's not going to do that. But you saw it on Saturday. He can run. He's very competent with the ball in his hands. So that's the answer to the question. You get more options out of the pocket with Daniel Beal. Is he going to be rattled? I mean, obviously, again, more variables that we don't know yet. He's come into the game in some very strange and challenging situations as a freshman in a conference championship game at home. Obviously, Saturday night. Look, there's a couple balls he put on the numbers. I mean, it's not like he's out there throwing balls in the dirt. The one that he did throw in the dirt, somebody ran the wrong damn route. And again, it's hard to evaluate a quarterback when nobody helped him. When his receivers completely and totally let him down, when his offensive line was getting pushed back into his belly 2 seconds after snapping the football. I think Beal has every bit the chance to be good as Howard would have been in this offense. It's the offense. We got to execute the damn offense.
I did not want to see Beal in that game because if it meant Daniel was in the game, it meant somebody was injured, and that's not a good thing. Raise your hand if you thought you would see Lunch in the game last week. Every single one of us. And I know all of our viewers are saying the same thing because we were told we're going to see him in a package. I agree with you, Andy. I don't know. I would just say in the situation we were in where when we started kind of running the ball a little bit, like you saw Bill get some carries and make things happen. I think he had a 35-yard run. You saw Zylan, make some moves and get stuff done. I thought at that point, like you said, if our O-line's having issues, we're not holding the pocket, let's get Lunch in there, make him think a little bit. What's he going to do? Is he going to pass? And we never saw it, Cole. I don't know, man. That was just one thing that I thought we all thought we would see last week, but we did not. And I don't want to linger on all this. I don't want to go into it. What I am going to ask you, Cole, is what went right for the Cajuns last week. Obviously, Tony Sterner was a man. We were a little bit worried about losing Kenny the kicker. I think we're in good hands this time. Tell me your thoughts on what went right for the Cajuns on the field this week.
No, great call right there. Because as the game was ending on that final drive, I was hoping we could get anywhere close to that logo. Because with the 2 kicks that I saw earlier in that game, I said, damn, this kick could probably hit it from 60, 65 if we get him close. So I was but absolutely, Sterner was a dog. That dude's got donkey legs attached to him. I mean, he was kicking that thing from out there, and it looked good. So, yeah, we're in great hands in the kicking game, and I'm glad to see us continue that tradition. I joked about it with you guys early in the week. You might as well just start calling us Kicker U, right? So, but no, that was great to see. Also, the defense. Josh touched on all the points already, so I won't go back there. But, started slow, started sloppy. But as the game went on, you got stronger because you made adjustments. Halftime, you made massive adjustments. That's what great defenses do. And guess what? You held a D1 football team to 14 points. I don't care if it's Rice. I don't care if it's Ohio State. If you hold a D1 football team to 14 points, 95% of the time you should win that game, especially at home. So the defense was a bright spot to me. Yes, we can clean up the tackling. Yes, you can clean up some positioning. But overall, the defense, you got to build your season on defenses, right? And Josh will be the first person to tell you that. Any great team is going to be built on a great defense. And, for them to make the adjustments that they did from the first half to the second half, it looked like a night and day team. So if they can just show up this week as that second half team and build on that, you keep progressing. This team by conference, this defense by conference can be really, really dangerous. And lastly, I'm not giving up on the run game. I know the offensive line looked, for lack of a better word, terrible. And we're going to keep saying it, not because we don't love you guys, but we just need somebody's got to push you to be better, right? And if nobody's criticizing you and we just tatting you on the butts, they lying to you, right? But you got 5 yards of carry. I mean, that's a good number. That's something you can build on. The last thing I'll say is this, and I just went back to the notes. The quarterback running the football last week, like Walker, when he tucked it and ran, there was opportunities there. Like, we should have done maybe some more quarterback runs. And that's where Lunch maybe should have came in and took that over. Because if he's the, more of the scrambling type of quarterback, you do maybe a little quarterback draw and you hit it up the middle. Every time our quarterbacks broke pocket and ran up the middle, it was like they were running for 10, 15 yards. At least that's what it felt like to me. There was opportunity there and we didn't exploit it. But that's what I saw last week. I'm ready to kind of wash my mouth of rice because the burnt rice that we ate was pas bon. So let's flip this thing and get McNeese State in here and give them a good old ass whooping.
What's funny is there was this chick on TikTok that was criticizing local Louisiana, what do they call them? The influencers for having fake Cajun accents, my ball. There ain't nothing fake about that, and I love it. I love it because you my people. I say shit in Houston that people are like, what'd you just say? Because it comes out every now and then. I've been faking it till I make it. So I try to talk myself out of it. So I don't talk like this, like I used to, like my mama does. But got to tell you, brother, it's hard, but that's not fake, y'all. That is real. Boys, let's turn it over and invite our brand ambassador to the show, Mr. Caden Jensen. Caden, before we get started, I got to tell you, man, I was the idiot standing up on the third row going, Caden, that's my boy. And you looked at me like, yeah, good. That was me, dog. That was me. So it's good.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys?
What's up, dude?
Thanks for coming on, dude. I'll start it. We'll open it up because this is an open conversation. We don't have any planned questions or anything. I know the team was disappointed, obviously, by the loss. And a lot went wrong. Some things went right. Just the feeling after the game, after you guys did, your post-game stuff and you got home and you're sitting in your bed thinking, what the hell just happened? Talk to us a little bit about how the team felt and how they reacted after that loss on Saturday.
For sure. I'll start out by saying this. I don't think we're in a spot right now. And I know you guys agree, but there's no sense of panic within the team right now. I think it was eye-opening, that loss in the form and the fashion it came in. And I think it was needed. At some point you're going to get tested in the season. Every team's going to get tested. And our test was week 1, and against an opponent that we prepared well for. And you can have a great week of practice. You can do the little things right, leading up.
That's a McNeese State mole cutting off his internet access here.
It's all good. He'll come back. Look, if it's all right, I'm going to do my positives while he figures it out. I said that Cooper Fordham at center against Blake Banish, Rice's best defensive player. For me, that was one of the best matchups for the entire game, and it didn't disappoint. And I got to say, Cooper really did well in the pass blocking game. Now, in the run blocking game, he kind of got pushed around early, but he did kind of recover a little bit. But in the pass game, he did have a pretty good game. So that's a positive for me. Then on the defensive side, I thought Caleb Cabody did an awesome job contributing from the will side. I was impressed with him. He gave you I think it was 36 snaps, did real well in coverage. He was one of the better tacklers from a PFF standpoint. So just to complete what was positive on the field, those two guys stood out for me. Take it away, Caden.
Yeah, Caden. Sorry, we need to get you a Wi-Fi deal on this NIL stuff, right?
I've got my phone set up on my damn computer, and I
You're
guess
all good,
someone
brother.
just tried to call me and mess up. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, as I was saying, I don't think it's anything that we didn't do in preparation. I feel like it was just a lack of execution on game day, and that happens, and it happened to us on week 1, and so I feel like the feeling after the game, between the team and the coaches, I think it was a feeling that needed to be had, and I'm honestly glad it happened now, because I'm more confident than ever, so to say, in our guys. But the vibes in the locker room were humbling, honestly. Not saying that we got guys on the head with with guys on the team with big heads, right? But I feel like it was needed in the sense to where no one owes us anything. We're not owed anything, and so we got to attack each day, and we got to attack every game in the sense where, like, we got to go out and take it. And so at the end of the day, I'm like it's been mentioned, we got to put that on the offense. 14 points is enough to win a football game. And so as an offensive player, it weighs on your shoulders as far as, like, we got to be better for our team, right? It's a team loss, it's a team win. But the offense has got to be better. And so those guys that I was talking to on the offense, I feel like the sense of urgency is picked up. 3 days into practice, so Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the sense of urgency has risen. And so, it's easy to sit on here and say, that I'm hopeful, but there's no panic button being hit, right? It's going back to work. It's what we hang our hat on. And so I think it was just, honestly, running up that tunnel, I was already looking forward to McNeese, and I was already looking forward to getting the sour taste out of my mouth. And so I feel like there's a lot of things that, a lot of guys on this team have something to prove now. And, Coach Munoz has said it in our position meetings all the time, like, teams only see your tape, right? Teams aren't watching your practice. Y'all aren't watching our practice. The only people that are watching our practice are us, right? And so you got to understand what people are looking at. They're looking at your on the field performance. And so right now, like, I'm going to speak on my behalf for a tight end room, and this falls a lot on me. Like, right now, people are looking at the tight ends and, like, we can handle these guys, honestly. And so, that's a challenge, and that's, like a personal chip that now we get to wear, to where it's like, now we got something to prove, right? And we've got to go out and earn it. So, I think after the game, we were honestly ready to get that taste out of our mouth, because no one is expecting it. No one goes into a game expecting to lose like that. And so it was unexpected, but I feel like in the end, it was needed. And I feel like we've handled it the right way so far.
So I'm going to go to Josh in a second, but going back to your comment on nobody's watching your practices, I can tell you KG caught a possible Connor Stallions in maroon in the stadium. We had him removed. He was videoing the game, like the whole. So thank you, KG, for protecting our players out there. One question I want to ask you before I go to Josh, the first practice after the loss, what was that like?
Sure. It started in the team meeting. Des had got up there and he said, look, you got to decide right now, as a man and as a football player, are you going to let this loss carry over into week 2, into week 3, into week 4? Or are you going to look yourself in the mirror? It starts with you. You got to look yourself in the mirror, and you got to understand, like, what can I do better for the team? What can I do better offensively? What can I do better defensively? What can I do better as a coach? And so the team meeting was really about like, look, the system's not broken. What we got going on, it's not something there. We just didn't execute. And so now, how much better can we do our weekly schedule for this next game, right? And so it's little things. It's the intensity at practice. It's the energy. And so honestly, that Sunday practice was a really good practice. We got out there and we moved around. Guys are banged up. No matter how much you play, no matter what team you play, football is a physical sport. So, we got guys that are battling through some stuff. And so it was good to see the level of intensity and the level of excitement just to kind of get out there and move around again. So it was a good practice. And, we practiced very well. And so our Tuesday practice has been great. Our practice today was even better. And so that Sunday practice, I think there was a new level of intensity, a new level of focus, because no one wants that to happen again. I don't ever want to feel that way walking off that field again, Rice in our new stadium. And so that Sunday practice was the practice that we needed to have to kind of kickstart this week of preparation.
Appreciate your candor there, and I have no doubt. You mentioned the practice, and I talked to Reed Stringer a while back, probably about 2 weeks ago, and he said, I've never seen this team, this 2025 team, have a bad practice. And he said typically with guys, 18 to 23 years old, you'll have 2 really solid practices, and then you'll have a letdown. And he said that doesn't happen with this team. So he said, I know that he's probably thinking going into this game, we're just totally prepared. And I know that you can't – practice only goes so far. You have to execute. You know that.
Sure, for sure.
I don't know how many regular everyday fans understand that execution, it just comes down to doing it when the lights come on, and it's kind of hard to explain how that doesn't translate sometimes. To put it in a more basic way, what did Rice do to this offensive line that maybe threw you guys off their game, off your game? Was it like a point of attack situation where maybe we underestimated what they can do at the point of attack? Was their scheme just something we weren't prepared for? Like, what do you feel they did to throw us off our game, our offense versus their defense?
Sure. I'm gonna preface my answer by saying this. I think Rice, I think their defense, schematically, they've got a great scheme. I think they've got some dudes up front. But a lot of my opinion, and going back and watching the film and even the game, you look at it, we shot ourselves in the foot so many times. And this is not taking anything away from their defensive line. They played good. They've got some dudes. But you look at it, so the plays that we did well are front side's doing their job and the back side's doing their job, right? The plays that we missed on, the front side's doing their job, we lose on the back side, and vice versa. So it comes down to a certain, like one guy here, one guy there, and it's not just the O-line, it's tight ends included, running backs included. And so I feel like up front, it was a lot of, a new defensive coordinator or a new defense. And so that was looming in the air. And I'm not throwing that out there as an excuse, but it is what it is. New defense. And so we had an idea of what they were going to run, and they ran what we prepared for. And at the end of the day, you touched on it. I mean, you hit it right on. It comes down to execution. And so I think it was a moment to where, individual guys got to look at themselves and like, look, how well did I prepare throughout the week? Did I watch enough film? Did the film I watched get me prepared enough for this guy rushing off the edge or the way they loop, right? And so I feel like, honestly, it was more of us. Like it for the offensive line and, us tight ends, we're so close with them. And so, and even in my point of view too, if I had anything, they played hard, and maybe they played harder than we thought they would, but you got to go into every game knowing that this is D1 college football. Everyone's out there, playing their ass off. And so I feel like maybe at times, maybe they got us there, but not to take away from the fact that, each guy's got to look at themselves in the mirror and they got to say, look, how did my preparation lead me to the point where whether I played good on Saturday or whether I played bad on Saturday? So I'm going to stand on this and I'm going to die on it. We just shot ourselves in the foot too many times. And so the times that we did do good, we'd have a penalty, right? And that's just inexcusable. We can't have that. And so whether it's nitpicky or whether it's not, I'm not calling the guys out, right? It's just, it's football. And so we just now have to be more intentional, and the focus has to rise within practice to where Like, we can't let that stuff slide. Like, we see something like that in practice, like, we got to call it out. We got to address it, because we can't have bad habits carry over on Saturdays. And so I feel like offensively, we really just kind of have to hone in on us. And so, to sum that all up, Rice was a whole lot of camp rules, right? We didn't know what they were going to go into. And so we were really focusing on what we did in fall camp. And I think at the end of the day, they just executed more than us. And, we set ourselves back, and we weren't able to, dig ourselves out of holes that we created.
Sorry, Caden. This is the first time I ever got to be on camera with you, man. So officially, it's nice to meet you. But listen, I also wanted to tell you, I got to hang out with your dad this weekend. That dude is a riot. We had a ball together. He came by the tailgate, and we had a really good time. I enjoyed getting to know him a little bit as well. So I'm a lot less doom and gloom than these guys. I'm going to keep it light with you. I'm going to ask you some positive things. I got 2 questions for you. First, as a player in that brand new stadium, it looked pretty good. I want to know your thoughts on, coming out that tunnel, looking up, and man, I mean, you got the brand new stadium and all the stuff going on. Just your thoughts on how excited you were to kind of see that versus what we had last year with the old Cajun field that was built back in the freaking Roman era. And then my second question, it's not really a question. I just want you to speak to us after you answer that on what we can expect as fans from Daniel Beal this week.
Sure. For me, it started on the bus on Cajun Walk. So I've been here for this will be year 3. And that's probably the most packed I've personally remember it being. And like, it was electric, right? And that the new stadium kind of brought some people out. And so that, that's what really excites me. And you kind of touched on it earlier, like the hard questions. I think we're just all blessed, and we're lucky to be in a position that we are to have these hard questions be brought up, right? There's been a standard that's been set. And at the end of the day, if the standard's not met, then, y'all are more than viable to, wonder, ask questions. And so I'm just happy that we're in a position and we have passionate enough fans, to, be so invested into the team. Cause I would way rather have that than, we go and lose and no one cares. Right. Just touch on that. Cause I love the passion, I love the passion. And so I feel like I feel like it's needed. Right. And so when you get into the stadium, after Cajun Walk coming down for warmups, that home side is it's just so pretty. Like we saw the whole reveal in fall camp, and, we got to tour it. It's so nice inside. And, being on the field was just different. It just felt electric. It felt, closer.
Okay, now I just have to laugh real quick, and I don't mean to cut you off, but whenever y'all got to do y'all reveal, like when the football team got their first look and they opened the doors for you, that's when me and Lane were actually shooting the Rage and Review promo video. And in the background, if you rewatch that video, there's football players on the balcony taking videos and photos of the field. And I'm sitting there like this, like, we back, baby.
I saw
like,
you.
I just
y'all were down to the left of the tunnel, right? Yeah, I saw y'all too. Yeah, I remember thinking, like, who are those guys down there? Like, why are they in the stadium right now? No, that's awesome. No, that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's just electric. It just brings a new energy, and it sparks up. I feel like, in the years past, like the stadium's nice. In the stadium before the renovation, it was nice as it was. Like, I loved it and I liked it, but this renovation is top notch and it's legit. And so I feel like that just brings a new energy to it all. And so, and seeing how packed it got, and seeing, all the people in the stands, and, we felt closer. I took for granted, I guess, last year or my first year playing, because I forget how close, fans are to our bench. Right. And so this past season, I wasn't used to, having guys, saying what's up to me as I'm running out and stuff. Yeah. And so I was kind of shocked. I'm like, holy crap. Like,
crazed super fan over here.
Yeah.
It was funny. You were looking around and you were like, whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. It took me a minute to realize. I'm like, man, this is awesome. And so, we're truly blessed to be in that position. And so I feel like the fans definitely, played their part. They showed up and they showed out. And so, I mean, I always get goosebumps and I get excited running out the tunnel and stuff, and seeing it all for the first time through the smoke. But I felt it was just different, right? Like, you look up and you see the whole renovation, and I can look to my left and my right, behind me, in front of me, and it's just packed. And so I feel like that really added a whole level to the game. And obviously it's credit to all the fans, right? And so I feel like it's only gonna get better, and it's only gonna push us harder because now there's more equity, into the program. And so, not that there hasn't been before, but we got this brand new stadium, and so we gotta put on a show. And so it didn't happen week 1, but it's gonna happen week 2, and it's gonna continue to happen. And so, but touching on the Daniel, y'all kind of hit it. I'm personally very close with Daniel, and so I know the type of player he is. I know the type of man he is, and so, and I share a lot of the same feelings. And this is with Lunch too, and Walker. The offense is very comfortable around Daniel, right? He's a redshirt freshman, and so it's our job as guys that have been playing and have snaps. It's our job to rally around him, right, and make his job easier, right? And so I feel like that's what it's been this week. And so Daniel and Lunch, they've been, like I said last time, they've been sitting on G and wait for O, right? They've been working, and the standard's been the standard. And so I feel like what you can expect with Daniel is like y'all said, he's a pro style quarterback. He's going to spread the ball out, but you can't sleep on his running ability either. And so he's just an athlete at the end of the day. He's very smart. He's someone I can that our offensive players can rely on within the passing game, to where he's going to be able to see defenses and put our players into positions to succeed. So there's high hopes, right? Like people should have high hopes, and it's going to be a really good thing to see, because now we're putting him in a situation where it's not the conference championship. We're down by 2 or 3 scores. It's raining. It's cold. Like, this is his first start in a home environment, right, against a team that he's had time to prepare for, and he's had a great fall camp. He's had a great fall camp. He's been doing what he's been needed to do, and so I'm excited to play for him and play next to him, and whoever gets thrown in there, Daniel, Lunch, we're just ready to get back out there, and so we have nothing other than confidence in the guy that's going to be behind there. So we're at practice too, so we see these guys working right beside us, and Daniel's a vocal leader, and so he's going to command the huddle, and he's going to hold our players to higher expectations, right? And so he's going to get on a 5th-year offensive lineman if it's not the correct way as a redshirt freshman, but that's the role he's accepted, and so he does a great job at that. And so we're excited. We're excited, to say the least.
We're ready to see what you guys bring against McNeese. Go ahead, Josh. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, I had somebody recently tell me close to the program that Daniel has this extra intangible that he tends to just kind of take things over. He kind of stands out. Is that true? And like, what does that do for an offense when you have a guy that's in there that knows, hey, I'm going to get the play in. Everybody's going to hear me. Everybody's going to look at me when I'm talking and running this offense. Am I close?
No, yeah, you're very close. And so, like, Daniel's his own player, but I compare him to Ben a lot, because that's who I started out playing with, and they share a lot of the same tendencies as far as when we're in the huddle. There's things that are certain. The play is going to get called. It's going to get called correctly, and it's going to get called, and everyone's got to know what they're going to do before the huddle is broken, right? And not to say that wasn't the case with Walker, but Daniel puts an emphasis on it to where he knows everyone's job, right? There's certain looks where we go over in a meeting 30 minutes before practice, and it's the first time I'm hearing something, and it's the first time Daniel's hearing about something, and in practice he's like, hey, remember on this look, you've got this, right? And so he's an elite student of the game, and so that only leads to confidence within the guys in the huddle. And so we know that, and he brings energy to the huddle, but he also brings us this calming sense, right? And so we know that in a crunch time situation, like, look, let's take a breath, let's get the play call, this is what's going to happen, let's just go execute. At the end of the day, we just got to execute. And so I know the guys are fired up to rally around him, but like you said, you hit it on the nail. He's got this intangible to where he's captivating, and guys just kind of gravitate towards that.
Couple more questions and we'll let you go, because we
Sure.
want to, of course, be respectful of your time. First, McNeese State, we play them next week. FCS team, easy to overlook. I think, as you said earlier, alluded to, not as easy to overlook when you just lost to Rice. Maybe it would be a little more of a struggle going into Missouri, saying, oh, well, it's an FCS team. I know that's not the case. Talk to us about knowing that Coach Viatar is now back with McNeese, head coach, knows you guys very well. One, I think this is two questions. One, is there any, like, are you guys throwing any wrinkles into the game plan because you know Coach Viatar is on the other sideline and knows you guys very well? And number two, do you know the history behind McNeese State and Louisiana going back, knowing that we're in two different divisions, but still McNeese State would love nothing more than to destroy our hopes and have us go 0-2 on the season. So I guess talk about Coach Viatar being on the other sideline and also the history with McNeese State.
For sure. I believe Coach V left at the start of my second year, so I got to experience my first year with him, and I got kind of close with him. And he's a great coach and a great human. And so, from my understanding, this is another time where we're not hitting the panic button. Like, we're not doing anything other than our offense and what we need to do. This whole week has been about execution. This isn't going back to the drawing board and, well, now they've got Coach V and he might, tell them to expect it. It's all about us honing in on what went well and what didn't go well. So it's the same game plan that we would have regardless of who's over there. Because at the end of the day, they could know what we're running. They still got to stop it offensively and defensively. And so it comes down to a point to where we say in the tight end room, you just got to fitfo it, figure it the F out, right? And so and check whoop ass. And so if there's a moment where I line across from you, you know what I'm doing, and I know what you're doing, like, it's fair game. Let's go, snap the ball. And so I don't think that's going to be the case, though. It's our offense is complex. There's a lot of moving parts, and so I feel like, honestly, it would be too much to try and game plan around a certain person, maybe knowing our offense. And so there's been no panic as far as from what I know and from what I'm used to is seeing as far as installs in certain plays, to where we're not worried about any certain things that might be be schemed against us, so to say. And then that second question, remind me of that second question again. I just get
just the history of McNeese State and Louisiana going way back.
Yeah. We touched on it today in the tight end room, and even in unit meetings too. Coach Munoz had said, it goes a long ways back, and whether you like it or not, this is a personal game for a lot of people. And so when you sign up to be Raging Cajun, you carry that chip on your shoulder. It's the same. It was the same thing with Rice, right? They ruined our win streak 2 years ago. I wasn't on the team. 3 years ago, I wasn't on the team, but I now have that chip, right? And so it's the same thing with McNeese. And he had commented, like, a lot of these guys that are on the McNeese roster are guys that wanted to come here. They tried to come here and that are from here. And so there's that personal side to where, maybe a guy over there feels a certain way, like, this is my game to kind of, show that I should be here. And so whether you like it or not, whether you agree or disagree, that's the fact of the matter. And so we're playing a hometown team, basically. And so you've just got to wear that chip on your shoulder, and it's got to mean more to you, honestly. And so, like y'all have mentioned, they're coming off a big win. And so they're looking to come in here to our new stadium and put on a show. And so you can expect them to play hard, as any team would, and you can expect them to do anything it takes to win. And so I feel like that only increases the intensity throughout practice, right? And so it's been a new level of focus that we've had, knowing that there's some history behind this and knowing that there's some investment and there's some not baggage, but there's more equity into it now. So Coach Munoz had kind of touched on that, and it made me think. It's like, I wasn't here to experience all that, right? I'm from Dallas, Texas, so this is my first time here, and so, but now I wear that, right? And so now I know that this defensive end that's lining across from me feels a certain way about me, because why am I on UL versus, and he's at, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that's where that kind of personal aspect comes into play. And so now they're going to be playing hard, and so be it. I wouldn't want it any other way. And so I think we're ready. We've had great preparation, and I think, I think we're all just ready to get this taste out of our mouth, honestly. And so, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Brother, I think you've got a lot of people fired up that were kind of down this week. So appreciate you coming on, giving us a little bit of, I guess, perspective on the world is not crashing around us. I saw you in the post-game chat. Apologize for anything I might have said about anybody, but we were all emotional, man. We were getting it out. We have to get our feelings out. So that's what our post-game is like. But we settled down, and a couple days later, we come to our senses. By the way, did you win the middle school and high school presidency in student council? Lindsay was talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
She said your practice speeches there are really coming to play today.
Yeah. There was some sweat and tears put into that living room practice speaking, and so all credit goes to my mom right there and helping me out and helping me speak more.
And I think I met, is it Ma Jensen? I met some of the Jensen. Of course, your dad was there, but I met some of your family as well. I can't remember because I might have had a little bit to drink before the game, but it was great meeting the rest of your family. I know Shauna, your mom's coming down, and we're going to be able to see her very soon. But dude, we really appreciate you coming on. I speak for the rest of us. This is awesome as always. We thank you for being a brand ambassador for Rage and Review, and look forward to cheering on a victory against McNeese State on Saturday.
Yeah, man. Thank y'all so much. And before I leave, I just wanted to shout out and that comment you kind of made about, the post game. And I feel like I said, we're blessed to be in a position where we have such passionate fans, and we have guys like y'all that are creating a space for those feelings to be expressed. And so it's not looked down upon. I feel like in certain cases it's needed. And so I just wanted to thank y'all and, for creating this space and let me be a part of it. So
thank you for saying that. Tell Jordan Lawson when you see him that I had to get on his ass because he deserved it. And he knows that. I love him though. I love him. It's like like a brother. I just had to get on him.
And as a player like him, he's going to want that to happen. Great and elite players are going to want people to hold them to a standard. And at the end of the day, y'all are holding us to a standard. And so it is what it is. If
you want to see the most epic meltdown ever, we need to get him a Caden Jensen rant on, not Caden Jensen, excuse me, the Daniel Beal rant on the post game from the championship game. Somebody was talking crap about Daniel Beal, and I absolutely lost my mind. So we'll get that to you. You'll appreciate that. Thanks again, Caden. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Y'all take it easy.
Thanks, dude.
You too, buddy. All right, ladies and gents, that is Caden Jensen, brand ambassador for Rage and Review, tight end. Throw to the damn tight end. As we always say, they should have thrown to him more because he was one of the few who actually held on to the football.
Well, now we know.
Lindsay's who I met in the parking lot. She's awesome. Thank you, Lindsay.
now y'all know why we chose him. He's awesome. And it's funny because you get the player perspective in here. So just to give you a little bit of, inside baseball, Caden's supposed to come on the post games. When we talked about doing the NIL, the midweek shows really weren't going to bother him because, he has school and, they prep and whatever. So it was going to be a post game thing. Well, in the middle of us not being able to set up the damn live remote, Caden texts me, "Hey, I'm good to go. Are you ready to get me on?" I was like, "I'm not connected. So we're going to have to hit you next time, dude." And he was like, "It's all right."
We're going to be so much more prepared, I promise y'all.
It's going to be much better.
It is not going to be anything, although that was part of the fun. If you actually got to see it, it was actually part of the fun. But thanks to Caden again, and thanks to Lindsay for meeting her out there, emotional, drunk. You know what, Andy? Mind your business. I'm muting you now. We're going to ban him from the chat. All right, boys, let's turn our attention to McNeese State, or as Jerry likes to call them, McNeese State, which is allowed only this week as we play the McNeese State Cowboys, coming in after a big win earlier this week. But I want to turn it over to Jerry before we get into the nuts and bolts of who they beat and how many points. And we kind of touched upon it with Caden earlier. Tell us a little bit about the history. I know you know about the history of McNeese and Louisiana, McNeese State, going back to many, 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 many years when they were, I guess we were both considered FBS because there was no second division. Talk to us a little bit about the history between Louisiana and McNeese State.
Yeah, so before I say anything, thank you, Caden, for coming on. That was awesome. Like his mama said, his public speaking skills are off the charts, and we need the beauty of having someone like Caden Jensen. I think he kind of calmed the masses tonight, including myself, right? We're kind of in panic mode after Rice, and he comes in, and I mean, you're seeing comments from our fans saying, man, he's got me fired up for Saturday. So no, that's just a great leader we need in the locker room. I wish we had 20 or 30 more of them like that in our locker room, but thanks for coming on, Caden. Great job. Anyway, onward to McNeese State. So McNeese State and Louisiana go way back. 1951, I believe, was their first matchup. Unfortunately for the Cajuns, McNeese State leads the overall series 20-16 and two ties. But let's be honest, they've only played twice since 1986. In 1986, Louisiana went to Lake Charles and defeated McNeese State, and then in 2007, they faced off for the first time in 21 years, and the Cowboys definitely took it to the Cajuns. And I remember because I was a freshman student manager on the field, and I'm still traumatized from the McNeese State fans swinging and clapping all night long. So luckily we got our redemption in 2016 when Louisiana defeated the Cowboys by the score of 30-22. So it's a 1-1 series in the last 39 years. But every year from 1951 to 1986, they would face each other in the last game of the season. It was called the Cajun Crown. So if you were born, before 80 to 85, the Cowboys were the arch rival of Louisiana. That really, they played against each other in the Gulf States Conference all the way till I think the 1970s when the Southland Conference came along. Both teams were in the Southland Conference, including Louisiana. And whenever the Division 1A and 1AA split happened in 1978, it was kind of a gray area what was 1A and 1AA until about 1982, 1983. And that's when Louisiana left the Southland Conference to become an independent, and McNeese State stayed in Division 1AA, and they've been FCS ever since. So if you notice, a lot of our old fans, they always say, go to hell, McNeese. Same thing with some of their fans. I've noticed some of their shirts. The McNeese State fans are going to wear their shirts this weekend saying, go to hell, USL. Right. So there is a deep history. I think for our generation, it's something that we really don't think about because they've been separated for so long. But as a lifelong Cajuns fan, it's always cool to have a little bit of kind of experience the nostalgia of it. Even though for me personally, I just look at McNeese State as another Southland team. I don't look at them as I've heard stories, whether it was from my dad and other people that I know who graduated in the 1970s, talking about taking the annual road trip to Lake Charles every time USL played McNeese State. So I never got to experience it. I know we played them in other sports, baseball, softball, basketball, but in football, that was the go-to. So that's a little bit of the history between the Cowboys and the Cajuns. It's always a great atmosphere. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere this year. But with that being said, I look, to me, they're just another Southland school, and we can't afford to lose to them. That's just my outlook on it. But it's always fun. It's always fun because they're going to travel a lot. They're probably going to bring 7,000 to 8,000 fans from Lake Charles, all sitting in that corner end zone. So that's pretty much a brief history between the Cowboys and the Cajuns. I'll leave it at that.
McNeese State comes into the season with a 6-6 record. Technically, it's the 10th year for Matt Viatar as head coach, 78-33 overall as head coach of McNeese State. And of course, they got a big win last week over Louisiana Christian by a score of 54-9. So regardless of who they're playing, putting up 54 points is quite impressive. KG, I know you did a little bit of work on their offense that we can expect next week coming to Cajun Field. Talk to us about the Cowboys.
First off, got to give a shout out to my boy, Caden Jensen from Acadiana High School. He is a backup quarterback over there at McNeese State. Got to show him a little bit of love. I was able to call his games for the last 4 years at Acadiana. But yeah, they're going to be led by quarterback sophomore Jake Strong, 6'2", 215, good-looking kid. He is a Texas Tech transfer, and last week he had a good one. 22 of 28 passing, 330 in the air, 3 touchdowns. He also had 3 carries and 25 yards. so he can use his feet as well when needed. I'm going to give you basically their top 3 from every position, running backs, wide receivers, and then I'll give you their number 1 tight end. Running back number 1 for him last week is actually a freshman, Marquez Davis, 5'11", 190. He had 12 carries last week, 95 yards and a touchdown. Running back 2 for him is going to be a sophomore, Trevante Citizen, 6'2", 223. And guys, I'm going to call out these sizes. McNeese is a pretty sizable offense. Like when you look at their roster, this ain't no understaffed and undersized team. The size is there, so but I'm gonna keep at it. Trevante Citizen, 6'2", 223. He's a transfer from Miami. So another transfer from a notable D1 school. Last week he had 9 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Running back 3 in the mix for them. Senior Colby Ham, 5'10", 218, so a little stocky, but 218, that's some size on a running back. Last week he had 9 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Let's talk about the receivers real quick. Wide receiver 1 for them last week is going to be senior Jonathan Harris, 6 foot 175. He had 5 receptions, 45 yards, and a touchdown. Wide receiver 2 is going to be freshman Josh Jackson, 6'2", 205. He had 4 receptions and 60 yards. And wide receiver number 3 is sophomore Makai Paris, 6'2", 190. He had 3 reception and 65 yards. Tight end is going to be senior Logan Malden. He's 6'4", 230. He only had 2 catches, but they were for a whopping 65 yards. Couple game notes. They had 4 running backs on their roster last week with a rushing touchdown. I named 3 of them. And they had 8 players on their team with multiple receptions. Not just 1 reception, multiple receptions. UL had 8 players on their team with a catch, not multiple. They only had 1 last week with multiple receptions, and that was Sampson. You're going to be looking at a balanced offense. They had 42 rushing plays versus 28 pass. That's balanced to me in college football. It's pretty much that's 40-30. And when I think in terms of numbers, you're roughly going to run 70 plays in a college football game, 40 to 30. That's balance. And they were able to do whatever they wanted last week against LC, and that was to the tune of, like Nick said, 54-9. So not much in the way of their offensive line. I don't give too much love to opposition big guys. I'm sure they'll do their thing, but I'm just saying they were able to kind of push around and they were able to pass well. They were able to run well, and they're going to take all of that offensive momentum that they've built in week 1, which is what the Cajuns should have did against Rice, and they're going to take that here next week and try to do and recreate the same thing. The thing that gives them a little bit of an edge is their fans. We're going to talk about it. They're going to be able to travel well down I-10. I'm sure that attendance numbers, if the weather holds up, and I haven't looked at it, but if the weather holds up, I'm sure attendance numbers will be roughly the same, if not better. I was expecting a little bit better than 22,000. We'll get to that later in the show. But I'm expecting it to be another solid crowd that will get the guys in our locker room going when they come out that tunnel.
Good stuff, KG, man. You get me fired up just like Caden did. That's some good stuff. Let's talk about the defense, Josh. I know you did a little bit of looking on that side of the ball. What you got?
Everybody's got to understand the opponent. The game's in Lake Charles, and they're playing Louisiana Christian, who I think last week was a B-class school. So just keep that in mind. And I watched some of the highlights. Unfortunately, I had to do that because I do prepare for the show. It was boring. They are not even remotely something that we should be comparing ourselves to. However, I do got to give you guys some stats. All right. So net rushing allowed. McNeese gave up 19 total yards net rushing. LCU gained 118 yards, but they also lost 99 yards, 34 of which were on 5 sacks. So imagine that. How many tackles for loss do you need to get, 65 yards of lost yardage after you've gained 118? It's just kind of, I don't even know how to describe that. In the past game, they gave up, there was 28 attempts, 9 completions for 122 yards, 1 pick. Total net yardage was 141 on 61 snaps. Time of possession for LCU was 22:03. LCU was 3 for 15 on 3rd down and 2 for 3 on 4th down. Red zone, LCU was actually 2 for 2 on red zone chances with 1 rushing touchdown and 1 made field goal. They did miss the extra point. They actually went for 2, so they missed that. A couple of defensive standouts that I thought were actually really intriguing. Shoes Brinkley, At safety, a redshirt junior, 5'9", 193 from Philadelphia. He had 7 total tackles, but check this out. He had 2 tackles for loss for a minus 13 yards, had a sack, a pick, and a quarterback hurry. That's a pretty good day at the office for the old safety position. Philip Bradford, a defensive end, junior, 6'6", 280. 6'6", 280 from Monroe, Louisiana, Ouachita High School. 5 total tackles, 3 tackles for loss for minus 7 yards, a sack, a pick, a pass breakup. A sack, a pick, a pass breakup from the defensive end position. It's a good day at the office no matter who you play, but I just want everybody to keep that in mind. It's LCU. The McNeese State defense is led by defensive coordinator Tony Pecoraro, 4th year with McNeese State Cowboys. His 24 defense led the Southland Conference in passing defense. They gave up an average of 176 yards per game and was 3rd in scoring in the Southland. McNeese held quarterbacks to just 47% passing and gave up 15 total touchdowns, which was 2nd fewest in the league. McNeese also ranked 2nd in the conference in red zone defense at 69.8%, which I think is very interesting because obviously scoring defense, in the end, if you give up yardage between the 20s, but you can stop guys from getting in the end zone, that matters. You guys kept talking about how Coach V was obviously familiar with Coach Dez and his offense and the Cajuns as a whole. Well, the defensive staff is also a little bit familiar with the Cajuns, and Pecoraro, in particular, spent time at South Alabama and Southern Miss, actually had 2 stints with Southern Miss. So playing the Cajuns is not any foreign thing to this defense. And, I thought Caden brought up a great point that they talked about in the locker room. There's a lot of guys on that roster that really thought they needed to play here at UL, really wanted to make this roster. And it just adds a completely a different level of rivalry from their point of view. It adds a different intensity from their point of view. And I think that that's something we got to keep our eyes on. You can expect a very aggressive style defense from McNeese State this weekend. Lots of blitz packages. I'm not going to sit here and say it's really sophisticated, but they will move guys in and out. They'll probably do some stunts, but they love to come off the edge. They love to pressure with defensive backs. You'll see a lot of that, or at least that's what they did against Louisiana Christian. A lot of edge pressure. They play a 4-technique base, but they do play a lot of 5-man fronts. So don't be surprised if you see a Bear defense out there. Now, keep in mind that LCU probably can't really throw the football. Actually, their backup quarterback came in the game at some point in the second quarter. It's easy to play a 5-man front when you don't have to respect the pass. So I don't really know I don't know how they're going to come out. There were times when they were in quarters defense, but it was later in the game, and I think that they were just trying to get guys on the field. That's just my opinion. But yeah, expect to see those safeties creep down in the box to help the run. Don't be surprised if you see 8 men in the box from time to time. We have to show them that we are a respectable pass game. And look, I think we have the talent. You heard Caden say it. It comes down to execution. And if we don't start executing this offense, it doesn't matter if we play McNeese State or the Lafayette Christian or Little Sisters of the Poor, we're going to get beat. Because it all comes down to doing your responsibility, running your route, blocking your guy, getting the signals in, and then doing it. It's got to translate. So that's a little bit about their defense. Again, the opponent is nowhere near comparable. Do I think that McNeese State is going to be able to do anything that they did on the field against us, that they did against Louisiana Christian? No. I will note that the size is a little bit surprising to Cole's point. Look, the defensive end is 6'6", 280, and the guy on the other side I think he was 6'4", 260. I mean, these are guys that can move around the football field, and you're not going to just run over them. You're going to have to make some plays out there. And I know Zylan Perry actually had a really good game, and we haven't really talked about the running back room. But look, I got the utmost confidence in this run game. I have the utmost confidence in our ability to rise to the occasion. It can't get much worse, but it comes down to execution. I feel like we're going to get out there and execute. Defense has got to be better from a signal standpoint, knowing your responsibility standpoint. We know there's not a lot of starts in that linebacker room, but we can't have – look, St. Andre was out there for like 40 snaps, and he's like a 3 on the depth chart at Mike. That can't happen. And it's no shot at Jake. I thought he played okay. We just got to get these linebackers communicating. Caleb Edwards, one of my favorite players on the team, is at the top of that list. Had a bad game. From a grade standpoint, had a bad game. He's been hurt for a year, just getting back on the field. I think, you're going to see some improvement. I think you're going to see a lot better play. Yes, it's a talent drop. I don't care what anybody tells you. McNeese State does not have the talent we have. But I expect to see a lot more out of our defense, and I expect I expect our offensive line to grow up tremendously from week 1 or week 2.
I'm not going to go as far as say they don't have. I mean, I don't think as a whole they have the talent we have. They have some very talented players, but when you're playing an FCS team that went 6-6 last season, you expect to dominate them, and also they don't necessarily have the depth that we have. But again, I mean, you have, like you said, third in the depth chart, playing how many minutes during the game. Time of possession killed us last week. We got to fix that this week against McNeese.
You got to convert third downs.
That's what I want to see. You got to convert. And hell, you were talking about Louisiana Christian can't pass the football. Neither could we, brother. So we got to fix that this week too.
I'll say it's a little different. This is what I ended up telling people. Like, everybody was calling me, hey, let's talk about the offense. At the end of the day, if the schemes don't work, if the route tree is not being run, if you can't get anything done on offense, you line up
and
run the ball. 3 yards, cloud of dust. And then you stand up and you do it again and you do it again. And at some point, you're going to break that offense because they don't have another defensive line to run out there. Do they have a couple of guys that can play? They do. But they're not 12 deep. They're 3 deep. And you just run it down their throat until they can't stand it anymore and you break them. And once you break them, the game busts open and you do what you do. You get your talented guys out there and you bust them out on the edge and you do whatever. If it doesn't work, if the gadget stuff doesn't work, if you still can't throw the ball, man for man, we will overwhelm them. And this offensive coaching staff knows that, but they just got to do it. As much as the kids didn't execute on Saturday night, you know who else didn't execute? The guys on the sidelines. And I think they'd be the first ones to tell you that.
All right. Very quickly, then we got to move on. I'll start with you, Jerry, and just a one-word answer on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. Your confidence score for us beating McNeese on Saturday?
A 9.
KG? 9
Same.
to KG. Go ahead, Josh.
12.
Lane, show me your fingers. How many you got? Lane's in the background right now. Confidence score, he's got a 9. I've got a 15. We are beating McNeese State by multiple touchdowns on Saturday. We will get it right. After listening to Caden, I have full confidence in what my boy had to say. All right, let's talk about the stadium experience at Our Lady of Lourdes Stadium, because we kind of got off track a little bit. We were supposed to talk about this earlier, but got sidetracked. Guys, I thought it was overall a good experience. And I know there were some things, the scoreboard wasn't working up to par for a lot of the game. I know they had some hiccups here or there. I got to say, the security checks going in, I know there was a little bit of a line. That was 5 minutes. As the longest amount of time it took you to get from the bottom of the hill to the through the gate check. 5 minutes. I don't think that's bad. So I think overall the game experience was fine. I'm not going to hammer on the band because those are a lot of kids who are trying their hardest. I think we need a bigger band, and I think we need a louder band because I could not hear them where I was sitting in the middle of the stadium. Conversation for another day. And I thought the DJ was overall okay, but he needs to stop playing when the team is getting ready to snap the ball. Why are we playing loud music on offense? It should be silent. We shouldn't be playing any music on offense. So I think outside of a couple of things I could nitpick about, I was pleased with the overall experience. Game day. Jerry, we'll start with you. Game day experience, first time, new stadium, lots to kind of figure out on your first game. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was beautiful with the fans sitting in there. I thought that, early on there was a little hiccup on the southwest entrance where there was only one ticket scanner. So at that point, they just let everybody in because it was a traffic jam. But outside of that, once everybody came in, I thought the traffic flowed pretty well. I think logistically speaking, the stadium is not like Black Friday like the old stadium was in the concourse. It's a more wider concourse to where fans can actually walk through. I like the fact that there's 2 layers to get to your seats. And so I think logistically it's very fan friendly. And I also think that there is a little more of an intimate feel to it compared to what it was before. It's not this huge stone structure that the old Cajun Field was, where even if you have a lot of people, it still looks somewhat empty. I think having a smaller structure makes it look a little more full, and it actually entraps the sound a little bit more, so it's a little bit louder. Where I was up top, it was great. They had food, drinks. It was easy to access. The screen up in the Magnolia Club had 4 games on the big screen, along with the Cajuns playing, and then
The
big
screen in the
otherwise.
Magnolia Club. Yes, so rich, and we have a suite.
Yes, and grab all the drinks you want. Yes, Nick. Yes, it was fantastic.
Now I
But
don't
anyway.
feel bad that everybody was making fun of you earlier.
But no, like I went down too. I mean, I went down too in the second half, and this is compared to what we had before. This is a palace, right? So now I'm kind of curious to see. Now, can we maintain? I think, can we maintain the experience moving forward? We've still got 5 games left. I'm hoping that, like you said, outside of the sound system and it's still kind of loud on the scoreboard, and the fact that we're playing Whitney Houston when our offense is on the field and the play clock's running, I think there's some things that they can fix. So overall, I thought it was a good experience. I just hope they maintain it and it doesn't get, we have problems with concessions and all that stuff moving forward, which – y'all go ahead. Anyway,
Lane, give me your thoughts, Lane. Anything standing out to you on the game experience?
The main thing for me was the cell service in the stadium still sucks. I was trying to post videos and tweets the entire game. They didn't post until we walked out of the stadium.
I posted it.
Yes, you did. Because I asked you to.
Service. What do you have, AT&T?
Yeah.
Oh, that's your problem.
AT&T signal that's out there.
Yeah.
But I was like trying to post several things and it wasn't loading. Like nothing was working. But like Jerry said, overall it was a good experience. There are a couple things I would change. And for the people that were saying like the music's too loud, I'm wondering if they're sitting closer to the scoreboard, because I would think that's where the music's like coming from. But you don't want to play Celebration on a 4th and 6 or whatever it was when we're down by 6 points.
Know the game situation is what you're saying. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
But other than that, I feel like that was the biggest thing. The fireworks show was pretty cool. Although
the fireworks cool.
Okay.
That was cool, but then what the hell? So they turned the lights back on, and then they're like, "Oh, and then there's more." It went for another 5 minutes, and we're like, "What the hell is this?"
But yeah, I feel like those are the. I mean, it's nitpicky, but those were the 2 biggest things that I saw. I did see people mention that there weren't concessions out while they were tailgating, like there had been for the baseball stadium, like there had been in previous years. But other than that, I feel like it was overall a good experience for me.
If you could bring Cole on, because I want to hear what Cole has to say, Lane. Cole, I want to hear about your experience, because I see you typing there. What's going on, brother? Game experience. What you think?
So to walk in where I walked in from Reinhardt, that was a line, Cat. I don't know about this 5-minute wait you had, dude.
All you had to go is walk 5 feet the other side, and you just walked right in. There was nobody around us.
Let me tell you something. By game time, I was so cascade. I was 15 natties deep. I drank all the natural light out of my ice chest, Nick. I was not walking nowhere unless it was back to the bar to get 2 more natties.
You did have the glassy eyes at that point, so I do agree with you a little bit. But you happen to catch Connor Stallions in the stadium somehow, so good job on that, brother.
No, game day atmosphere was fine. The line, I will say this. Having 1 metal detector for 22,000 people, well, I should say 4 because there's one at every gate. But having 4 metal detectors for 22,000 people is a joke. It's a joke. I mean, at least from where we were walking, we were in that line for, I would say, anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, and you just snake your whole way through. Luckily, everybody at that point had been having a good time. It was a good day. You chit-chat with fans in the line. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, it wouldn't be a show if I wasn't here to gripe about it, right? But no, once you got in there, it was very easy to get the food that you wanted, the drinks that you wanted. By the way, the food selection on the away side was phenomenal. Like, pretty much from the 20 to the opposite 20, you can have any kind of food you wanted, and it was all top quality. It was good stuff on the away side. And like I was saying, to get your drinks, my $2 natties, very easy to just walk up to the coolers. You open them up, and I've never had an experience where the beer was hot. right? So every time I went, they were restocking. And even with what they were restocking, the box, it was already cooled. So it was convenient. I mean, overall, a seamless process. I will say my biggest gripe was the wait and the music. So loud, and you are playing entirely too close to the snap, especially when your team's on the field. Now, listen, if you want to try to do some quirky stuff like that when your defense is on the field, that's one thing. But when your offense is out there, calling plays and shouting audibles, turn that crap off. But that's all I got to say overall. Stadium looks great. Food was good. Drinks were good. And the only thing bad about my experience was the end result.
By the way, if you want a stadium hack, go to the grab and go where you get your own stuff. That is warmer. Like the nachos are better. The food is better. It's warmer than if you go to the regular concessions. Sodexo, what can you say? Josh, your thoughts? Stadium experience, good, bad, ugly. What you got?
Allow me to be the positive one on this one. I didn't have to wait in the line with all you peasants because me and Jerry walked in the rich people line. Pretty nice. Got to say the McElliott Club, there's a wow factor there. Literally, you cannot say a single bad thing about that. It was sick.
Except
it
I
was
can't
packed.
get in. That's the one bad thing.
Well, we're going to do everything we can to get the lower level folks up there. And we're going to be trying to give away tickets or something. Because as soon as I walked in, they were like, oh my God, look at this asshole. So
I guess they just let anyone in. That's probably what they were thinking. In your blue shirt.
But yeah, the blue shirt thing was apparently everybody hated on the internet. God forbid a guy go fishing before the game. Anyway, no, I mean, the McElliott Club was awesome. The seats in former UD, I don't know what they call it now, but best has to be it still is the best view in the entire field, the whole stadium. It was awesome. When I did, so I only spent one quarter up there with Jerry's rich ass. I went down to the regular folks because I'm a man of the people, So I went down and I sat on the home side about 30 on the 30-yard line. I thought it was fine. I really don't have any complaints. Like, y'all forget what we had to put up with for 30 years. There were some aggravations here and there, but dude, overall, I don't complain about the music because I know the music's not for me. I'm going to complain about them playing music when Walker's trying to call out signals. That's ridiculous. Guys should be fired for that. Should never come back ever.
I got yelled at for doing that. I mean, not even close. Just when they got into a huddle or started walking, if I didn't cut it off, I was getting yelled at.
Well, that's because it's illegal, though. You're not supposed to play music during the game.
Correct.
So anyway, I thought it was fine overall. The grab-and-go concessions were a million times better. I didn't eat, but it didn't take me very long to get beer. I do think it's stupid that you can only buy 2 beer at a time. I understand why they do it. I was just calling out people randomly, hey, buddy, you want to hold these 2 beers for me while I buy these 2? Thanks. So a couple people earned some free beer just by holding mine, but I think that's dumb. Other than that, I got really no complaints, man. It was awesome. The stadium has a wow factor. I've seen here nitpicky stuff. The bathroom's small. Have a bigger bladder. I don't know what to tell you. It's not bad. We dealt with Cajun Field, one of the worst laid out stadiums in the history of college football. I don't think the guy who designed that stadium ever designed anything ever again. That's how bad it was. And that actually might be true. But no, I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. Every second of it I thought was fun. Is the music too loud? Yeah. But when they do the east side, they're going to put audio around the stadium and it's going to make more sense. I thought the lights were awesome. I thought even though the crowd was not close to what it should have been, and shame on the people who sold this event to the community, shame on them, because this should have been a sellout and you should have sold it as if it was going to be a sellout. I hated the way they did that. But I got nothing but positives. I'm excited to go back to the field. I can't wait until Saturday. So I'm just going to be very positive. I had a great time and I experienced it at all levels, the rich people and the poor people. And I had fun at both. So
I gotta tell you, I sat in the middle. I'm middle class, so I set my seats 3 rows up. Like I said, I was yelling at Caden, and he's like, "Who are you?" He figured it out after, but I sat down. What I liked about the new setup is that a lot of the old moaning, "Just don't stand up and sit down, young man, and don't yell," are up in the suites now. And now down there on the home side, it's a lot of people our age that will yell on 3rd down, that get into it, that stand up. That's what I like. Not to say there's anything bad with the get off my lawn people, but it was nice to have a more, I guess, a crowd that was more into it on the home side.
Oh, super energetic. And by the way, speaking of the get off my lawn people, me and Jerry sat next to a bunch of the old Rebounders Club. That was hilarious. We were giggling and they knew exactly what was going on. I just had to do G's thing while he wasn't on screen because that was just fantastic. I have to tell you.
We're gonna need to talk about that after. All right, boys, we gotta move on. We want to do Lane's lines because my boy Lane has spent a lot of time. And Lane, I gotta apologize. I did not get this right because I didn't put your overall record. I told you I would work on it today, but I did not because I had other stuff going on. But Lane's lines, talk to us about what we're seeing here and what your picks are for the upcoming weekend.
So I was 3 for 4 last week. I shamelessly picked the Cajuns to cover the spread last week, and that did not work out too well.
Why would you ever do that, Lane? Have you not learned over the years of picking the Cajuns against the spread never to do that, brother?
I'll take the blame on that.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah. But this week, I've got a few interesting matchups. There are obviously no lines for UL and McNeese because they don't really put those out there. But Texas State and UTSA was an interesting matchup. Texas State's actually an underdog. They're playing at UTSA this season. Last year they beat UTSA 49-10. So I don't expect them to have any pushback on that game. And I expect them to pull out the win as an underdog. The Iowa State-Iowa matchup is a rivalry game. And I want to say that Iowa State won last year by 3 or 4 points. And I expect the matchup to be kind of like the same this year, but I know the offensive firepower for Iowa State is more than Iowa's. I mean, Iowa doesn't score very many points to begin with. And then the last matchup I have is Kentucky Ole Miss. Last year's game ended in a 20-17 final score, just short of the 50.5. But I feel like the offensive firepower for both teams is a little bit better this season. And it's kind of interesting to see SEC versus SEC in week 2. But I'm looking forward to those 3 matchups for sure.
Are you? I'm assuming you're just gonna put the UL McNeese State game as a straight up and pick UL, correct?
Yeah.
All right, me too. Only one I'm gonna disagree with you on is Texas State and UTSA because Texas State is always the how do they say they always expect to be the best team on earth, and they always drop a game that you don't expect and then tank the rest of the season. And I think it'll be yet again against UTSA. Josh, your thoughts?
I have absolutely no belief in Texas State.
Me
I think Texas. I don't give a Texas State could pay what Texas plays for player, and I still think they'd go 6-6 every year. Like, you can't talk to me. I own you. I'm 12-0 against you. Don't ever talk to me. Don't ever pretend like you're good to me. I don't care who you play. I'm going to pick you to lose. I don't think they're going to cover just because, first of all, I have no real hate for them. They are like the stepchild that you ignore when you walk in the door after, 8 to 5 shift. Nobody cares about Texas State. But in this particular situation, I don't know. It's intriguing. It is an intriguing pick, Lane. I think you're going out on a limb, though, because it's AJ Kinney and Texas State, man. It's 6-6 for me. I don't know.
Yeah, we need to work on the graphic, Andy. I agree, because I can't really tell if Texas State is the favorite or if UTSA, but I'm assuming UTSA is the favorite, or right? And we're picking Texas State to cover, but no.
Texas State's the underdog, so I'm picking them to win outright.
I think you're crazy. All right, boys. Well, that is Lane's lines for this week. I'll do better next week with the graphic and make sure that we get your overall progress, because that is important. We have to hold everyone accountable. One question before we move to Grimmies, I do want to ask, because our boy James brought this up. Are y'all annoyed with Tyler, the sideline guy? And I'm not all about attacking people, because I used to be the sideline dude, and I'm sure I aggravated people. but only because I was kind of a jerk sometimes, because I'm sarcastic naturally. So somebody would miss a kick and it'd be like, oh, that was close. And they were like 45 yards right of the goal post. But go ahead, Josh, because I saw you getting ready for this. What do you think about the sideline entertainment, dude?
It's amazing to me that we've gone this long and never talked about this. And I'll be interested.
I don't want to offend anybody because the guy's just doing his job. But
I don't give a shit about offending anybody.
But I mean, look, I got criticized because I was no TD Smith. Remember that? And then now they hate
so
Tuna.
what?
So
Everybody hates everything. That's why I'm not worried about offending anybody. Tyler was hired to do a job. That's fine. I don't need like the hollering and it's just like so cheesy to me. If you have to tell people how to get into a football game, then you have bigger problems than Tyler, the sideline guy. It's just over the top. Like, I'm not going to try to, do his thing because I'll feel like a moron, but it's too much. Like, I don't need you to tell me what to do. I know when to holler. I know when to stand up and scream. I know that it's halftime. I know when it's a break. We all know that DJRV is doing the politics thing. Like, I don't need it to be announced. So it just bothers the absolute hell out of me. It really does. One of the most annoying thing about game time experience or game day experience. It's worse than basketball, though, because basketball is totally empty. And it's literally echoing off the seats and bouncing back into, it's just so bad. I don't like that. I didn't really talk about this. The band, everybody's mad about the band. The band is a show band. The damn band director is ass, not the band. They need to be able. They need to be able to shift from show band to game day band. Like, why is that so hard? It's the same instruments. It's the same notes. Just put a little more energy into it.
Dr. Melly got it. He understood it.
Yeah.
Because he came from
TSAB.
And he knew what it took to be a game day band. And we're severely lacking that.
I could not hear the band. I was sitting in the corner, the opposing corner, cat corner.
Across from them, bro.
Couldn't hear a thing. And you can say, yeah, they need more kids. Well, they need to push more band participation. And they could be much better and much more fun and much more engaged. But they just aren't. And then they went and stuck a damn DJ next to them. And look, I understand that they're trying to do something different and get the kids involved. I understand all that. We don't regularly have enough kids to where you go out and this is just my opinion. I may be wrong. We don't regularly have enough student-driven energy for you to go out and get a DJ to appease them. Go tell the damn band director, hey, this is a football game. There's pageantry still in the sport. We need you to do your damn job and get these kids trained to play something other than You Are My Freaking Sunshine. I'm sick of You Are My Sunshine. So, as far as the band goes, I thought that DJ RV, he does a good job on the radio. I got nothing against Ryan. He seems like a fine guy. He looked like deer in the headlights. Maybe he got a bad brownie at the pregame. I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened. But every time they go to him, he was like, yeah, go Cajuns, and then play a song that took 3 seconds to load. I don't know what the hell that was about. But going back to Tyler, I'm sure he's fine. He's just doing his job. To Nick's point, totally get it. It's cringy. It's bad. It's bad. We don't need somebody telling us when it's when to stand up and when it's a break and all this crap. I hate it.
Budget cuts, buddy. Ain't going to get better anytime soon. All right.
Well, if he's getting paid, he could be at the top of the list. No offense to him. I'm sure he has a regular job.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, you asked for more of my mama Thelma on the show. Here we go, baby.
C'est le pour la grémie. Emmenez à vous autres pas mange Lafayette.
That's right. It's Grimmies, brought to you by Eat Lafayette. Part of Lafayette Travel. That was only French, in case you didn't understand that. Thelma doing the voiceover for that. That was pretty goat, right? I think
Spreading Cajun across the nation, dude.
Spreading Cajun across the nation, baby. All right. By the way, we have to do that in like 45 takes. Tonight's Grimmies. We want to know, when you think of Lafayette media, think to when you were a kid. Which TV and radio personalities give you throwback memories of your childhood? I will go first. Got two TV people. We got Maria Placer. She did Wednesday's Child, which was featuring the kid up for adoption. My mother would threaten me. She said, if you don't behave You're going to be on Wednesdays, child. I swear to God, she told me that.
That is hilarious.
I think she was joking. I don't know. Maybe my phone's going to be ringing in about 20 seconds. She told me I would go on Wednesdays, child. Number 2 was Jim Olivier. Man, he had the best head of hair outside of Mike Barra, who had the comb over. Jim Olivier had that helmet hair. Looked like one of those Jedi warriors, whatever they call them. As far as radio, dude, I had such a crush on Cheryl Robichaux back on KSMB back in the day. My girl, we still keep in touch, by the way. I was Nick from Scott. I go on my mama's little fax machine at her shop and send her a fax. And that was back in the day. I won so much shit from Cheryl Robichaux. And then Kirk Cruiser at night. I know I bugged them when I was a kid so bad on KSMB. And then I ended up working for the rival station, which is actually kind of funny. So that was awesome. KG, I cannot wait to hear this. Let's go back to TV and radio, your OGs that give you throwbacks to your childhood.
Yeah, so you showed your age with that one. I'm not gonna go that far back, but no, man. So I'm gonna start with so I grew up in the era when LimeWire was popping, man. We wasn't listening to much radio, but we was on the ruined my parents' computer and the PC with all them ads and stuff. But no, radio, I gotta give Han Nelson some love. Every time I would hear him on Big 102.1 or what it was back then, I forget the name. He has such a recognizable voice, and I actually got to meet him. I didn't tell him this in person. We're friends on Facebook now. I was a little bit you starstruck a little bit because we were sitting next to him at the championship game when we were playing Marshall. Introduced myself, and as he's talking, I'm like, hold on. And I had never met him before, so we got to talking, and I told him, I was a fan. From the TV side of things, I grew up as a KLFY kid. It was always on my mama's TV, and I spent a lot of days at my mama's house on the living room floor. That damn beige carpeted floor that was probably 50 years old and been vacuumed maybe 2 times. I remember a lot of, and these 2 names, Miss Blue Rothfuss. I remember seeing a lot of her on TV. I remember, and I was young, she used to do a lot of stuff with animals. Didn't that right? She had like an animal segment. Right. Yeah. Okay. And the other one might make y'all laugh. And I thought about this one today because when we would watch, it was always like the early news. And for whatever reason, when you asked this question, this was the first guy that stuck out to me is Chuck Huebner. For whatever reason, I remember Chuck Huebner just with his box hair and like Gangsta Chuck. Burgundy. Yeah, Gangsta Chuck. So that's my answer. So Chuck Huebner, there's your shout out.
Yo, I learned how to say the damn, I will tell you, before Passepartout, they had the French rosaries. I know the whole thing because my mama and daddy would wake up at 5:30 every morning and make me watch that shit. So I grew up on KLFY too, and I remember Blue, and I was blown away when I found out she was married to Dee Stanley because I was like, well, her name's not Stanley. Like, how is she Blue? And then I realized her name wasn't Blue Rolfus. None of that was her name. And I'm like, oh, it blew my mind. Jerry, I know you're not from here, but you were here long enough. Tell me about Lafayette Media. Oh, do you have any radio people there, Cole? Oh, you didn't really listen to it. You addressed that. Jerry, go ahead with your picks.
So first, I gotta say, I actually went to Hooters one time with Chuck Huebner. That was fun. Totally random. Yeah. So I knew. Well, I was tight with. I'm sorry.
I don't want to know that story if I'm being honest.
I do.
I gotta be honest. I do. That might be good.
First of all, I used to kind of run with George Faust and Jeff Horchak. I'm still tight with both. When they were doing KLFY sports, I got to know them when I was doing sports radio. For high school football, and I'll never forget. I'd go hang out with the studio with him, and Jeff and I'd go watch Jeff do the sports. Well, afterwards, this is like 10:30 at night, and Chuck was doing the news, and Jeff was like, Jerry, you want to get something to eat? I'm like, yeah, sure. And Chuck goes, well, let's go to Hooters. So we're like, all right. So I just hopped on with Jeff and Chuck, and we just hung out at Hooters. And then another time, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings on the Friday night. After I do the game, I'd go to the KLFY studio and watch George and Jeff do 1st and 10. Well, at the time, we all went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'll never forget, it was me, Jeff, George, Chuck, and Chuck's, who's now his wife. We all went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and like all these players, like high school football players would go eat there, whether they were from STM, there were a few from Opelousas. Well, they recognize the guys. So you got all these kids running to the table. Hey, man, I'm number 7 for Opelousas. Hey, I'm this guy from STM. And they're all taking pictures and like posing. And you've got George with this big smile. You've got Jeff with this big smile. And all these kids are taking pictures. And there's Chuck, just a serious look on his face with the mustache, and he's all prim and proper. And I just
get the hell away from me, son.
Like, you didn't even smile. I'm like, Chuck, smile. And he's just like, man, why y'all taking pictures with me right now? You know, so it was that was my memory of hanging out with those guys at KLFY. But honestly, I'm going to tell you, when I moved here, the first experience I got with Lafayette News was I was 16 in 2005 when Hurricane Rita hit. And I remember turning on the news at 3 a.m. And I remember watching him more after and I know he was a staple here. Tom Vonche. I'm gonna give a shout out to Tom Vonche. He was with I think KATC for about 30 years or so. And I got to meet him at one of the career day things at UL when I was a student there. And he always kind of had that prim and proper anchorman feel like Chuck did. Radio, I'm gonna go with sports radio just because I had that experience. I got to go with my man. I miss him every day. Big Dave Thibodeau. Big Dave was my dude.
Big Dave.
I used to do the games with him. He and I were really close. It's so funny. I can still mention the man's name and everybody knows who he is. He just has that legendary feel to him. I'm like I said, I know his entire family. Great man. He got me into sports radio. So, yeah, I got to give a shout out to my boy, Big Dave. Rest in peace. But, yeah, those are my two my radio and my news. Sorry I went a little long on that, Nick. I know you like to give me a hard time, but I had to give you the story about going to Hooters with Chuck. That was the one. I thought you'd like that.
This one's okay, but what's funny is like Big Dave, like it could be a 14-14 game with 2 seconds left on the clock, and St. Martinville's on the 2-yard line trying to score, and he's talking about the cracklins at Poche's. Like that dude talked about food more than he talked about the game.
Let me tell you, I'll never forget. They actually asked him to do a Poche's like ad on the radio, and he would do everything off the fly. Like, I don't know if y'all knew this, but like when he would do his sponsors, he would read off the sponsors. He recognized the phone numbers without looking at it. He would basically ad lib everything. Like there was no script. Like Mike has a script. Dave would just do everything.
I do the same.
That's literally what I do.
No, but guys, no, like we only do how many sponsors? Like we do a good number. Dave had like a binder. Like he had like 7 or 8 pages full of sponsors, and he would do it just ad lib, and it was really, really, it was pretty cool.
Mr. Bitter could ad lib. Cole,
no, his entire show was a sponsor. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway,
get your little hot dog. Get your little hot dog at PJ's and Crowley. Get your little hot dog. Get your little hamburger.
99 a nickel and a dime.
All right, Josh. Throwback. What you got?
Well, first of all, if y'all grew up at y'all grandmama's house like me, and you sat on her plastic couch where you fall asleep and take a nap, and you had to use a spatula to get your face off of it, I would watch Paspa 2 at lunchtime before the soaps, and Gary Arnold.
Meet your neighbor, ball.
Meet your neighbor. I'm sorry. Yes, Paspa 2 is in the morning. Meet your neighbor, Gary Arnold. I also went to school with Jennifer, which is his daughter, so I was kind of obligated to do so.
Those kids were bad, by the way. Her and her brother.
I got nothing to say about him.
I know Jonathan. Yeah.
I got nothing to say. All I know is that
they're not listening or watching.
Mr. Gary was about one of the nicest men. He came off on TV as one of the nicest men, and in real life, he was super nice too. And they live didn't they live right around your mama's house?
2 streets down, brother.
That's right. Yeah. So, but I always loved Gary, and my grandmother loved Gary. Oh Lord, she would do the hair rollers and stuff, and she would make sure that during that time of the day, that's not when the rollers were going in. So Gary Arnold was one of my favorite. I also loved Hoyt Harris. Do y'all remember Hoyt Harris? Nobody talked about Hoyt. Dude, I got stuck at Todd's car wash with Hoyt Harris one time, and I was like a young teenager. I was washing my Honda Civic or Honda Accord, I think I had, and I'm sitting there, and he's across the bench from me, and I keep looking at him like, I know this mother. I know him. Oh God, it's Hoyt Harris. Oh God, and I figured it out as I'm looking at him. And he's looking at me, looking at him, and then he does the TV voice. Hello, son. And he says something. I don't remember what he said, but I was like, oh, it's Hoyt Harris. Oh, man, I watch you on TV all the time. You know, that goofy teenager crap that we did. But it was cool to meet Hoyt Harris at Todd's Car Wash all those years ago. But I liked Hoyt, but Gary was my guy. I loved Gary Arnold. Radio-wise, and this is not going to be super popular. Maybe Adrian will remember. Eric Wright on K-Ball Friday nights, 101.1. You call into K-Ball, he would read your name and read your request and then say something funny about you. So every Friday night, like when we were in college, we would go do our stuff, and then before we go out, we would put on some kind of gravy, whatever, and then we go do our thing, and then we come home and listen to Eric, and he'd shout us out. So Eric Wright on K-Bone was awesome. I got 15 others I can do for radio. I'm a radio listener. I still listen to radio. I listen to radio probably 18 times more than I watch television, and I can do a bunch of them. But he was Eric was awesome.
Man, so many memories. And you know what's funny is because I'm not going to say I became one of those people because I worked for the radio station and I was nowhere near as popular as those folks were because I was just a part-time dude doing a little show on Sundays. But I would fill in for Jay sometimes. I'd fill in for those folks. And you get to know like Digital, DJ Digital. He's like a big deal now, bro. Like he's like nationwide doing syndicated stuff and like all these people. And like you get to know them, and they're just all dumbasses like us.
Winky Dinky Dog, 97.3.
Wait, who?
Winky Dinky Dog, Chris.
I don't think I know who that is.
Yeah.
No. But like TD Smith, growing up, y'all, TD Smith was my idol, bro.
Dude, I did the same. Like TD was a big deal.
Oh, that was. I was like.
He also carried himself in a very stoic way.
He did.
He made you think he was a big deal, so you believed him. I mean, what the hell? He's a big deal. But like then you get to work with him, and you're like, this goofy dude. Like the stories I could tell, I could not repeat because I don't want to, rest in peace, TD. Don't want to bring that up, but like you get to know these folks, like Cheryl Robichaux. I said she was my crush as a kid growing up. I got to know her. She was awesome. So, no, good stuff. And somebody was saying Nick was risen up the girl via fax machine. Hell yeah. James Carey talking about on Caroline Street. That's right. He was on Caroline Street all the way down. My best friend Jamie and David lived right there. Man, that is some memories. Now, never played with his kids or anything, but I did DJ a party for him one time, and his kids showed up, and man, they were bad, bro. You were probably there, Josh. Probably didn't know it. Kind of like Tommy McClellan. My daddy and him
could have been
like worked together, and it's crazy stuff.
So
all right,
Jennifer and I had a fling in second grade or something like that.
What? Oh, by
yeah.
the way, I actually met my second grade girlfriend. She showed up to the tailgate. I don't know if y'all were there for that, but she and her family like came say hi. So that was pretty cool. My second grade girlfriend, Heather, showed up at the tailgate.
Does she live in Lafayette? How far does she travel to see you, buddy?
She does. No, she lives in Lafayette. She has like 40 kids now. So not happening, boys. Once again, thanks to our sponsors, awesome sponsors, the Best Stop Family Market in Scott, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, Katy, Texas. Gosh, what's the other one? I always forget one.
No, Baytown.
No, not Beaumont, Baytown, Texas.
And Toledo Bend. Hey, by the way, the Rage and Review Say Show and Say Foie platters. Get them. They're amazing. You will not regret it.
They're good. Yes.
They're so
good.
Karen Crow's participating, Scott is participating, and Katy, Texas is also participating.
Yes.
Which is pretty amazing. I've been telling my people here in Texas, hey, we got lots of high school football. That's a big thing here. So they're getting theirs. Make sure you get yours. Call in early, though, because people are calling and asking for it, which is absolutely amazing. Gulf Coast Bank going to bring in the tailgate show 3 hours before the game on Saturday on Planet Radio 106.7. Be sure to check us out there. Lafayette Roofing, Darren Domingue, you were a lot of fun on Saturday night, brother. The Yard Goat, yes, please. Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette by Lafayette Travel, Rage and Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable with Recovery Chiromed. Man, tonight was fun, boys. Tonight was a good time, I think, had by all, and I appreciate the awesome feedback, awesome comments. Let's bring in Lane to say goodbye to everybody. Lane is falling asleep. Oh, he's woken up now. For my boys here, Josh, Jerry, Lane, and KG, I am Nicholas. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, check out our Patreon. Thanks to all the folks who gave in the chat today. You're absolutely amazing. We'll talk post-game. Actually, we'll talk pre-game. 3 hours before pre-game on 106.7. for the Tailgate Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Bank. Until then, that's all I got for y'all tonight. You have a good evening, or if you're listening, a good afternoon. Goodbye, and as always, go Cajuns.